Welcome to my History of Witchcraft series. This video is going into the magic of the Greeks and beyond. Witchcraft and magic were central to the lives of many Greeks. One of their great gods, the revered and feared Hecate, was the goddess of witchcraft. Yet in later periods, the Greeks described witches in dark, more sinister terms, which had an influence on how both the Romans and later Western culture viewed witchcraft. The use of magic and the presence of magicians and witches who practiced it were persuasive in Greek society. Greek culture was also very literate and had many texts on the wide variety of subjects survived to have been profound influence on the way the Western society developed. Mathematics, geometry, algebra, natural sciences, philosophy, and drama were just some of the areas in which the Greeks used a powerful legacy and influenced the West. It is no wonder, therefore, that Greek thought was shaped and has shaped our modern ideas about witchcraft. It is true the Greeks did not quite see witches in the way the panic-stricken persecutors of the late Middle Ages saw them, with their broomsticks, flying ointments, satanic rituals, and mockings of the one true faith. These were later embellishments and were essentially Christian in origin. But the Greeks did develop an image of witches that saw them as mostly female, dangerous and unconventional, highly sexual and alien. They were capable of acts of great evil. At the same time, though, witches could also be seen in more positive terms as beautiful, powerful, loyal, and able to perform acts of great love and kindness. So though the Greek view of witches was more of the dark than of the light, it was a complex one. This complexity of view was also mirrored in the way ancient Greeks regarded magic. There were perhaps 3 or 4 main strands of magical practice that we can identify in their society. The first was the highest form of magic, which they called themselves theurgia, from theos, meaning a god, and ergon, meaning work. Literally translated, it means work relating to the gods. This referred to so-called high ritualistic magic in which the person involved, which was usually a priest, sought to raise his or her consciousness to the point where it met with the divine. It is very close in concept with working with the goddess that is at heart of the modern pagan witchcraft. A second form of magic was that employed by the civic state in the form of consulting oracles, for example, at Delphi, the telling of the future from flight patterns of birds, or the reading of entrails. It should be emphasized that this magic is described as official, not because it was different magic from other forms, but because it had the seal of approval by the state. It distinguishes from a third category, that which might be called popular magic. This in itself could be split into two categories. Magia, which is closer to the modern sense of sorcery, and was practiced by a magician, or magos, or magus, and Goetia, practiced by goets, or goets. The magi, or the magi, for want of a better term, could be described as professional magicians who were often hired by the great and the good to carry out magical work on their behalf. The magicians, as well as their name, often came from the East, from what was then Persia and is now called Iran. It's no surprise, incidentally, that in the New Testament, Matthew's Gospel has the three wise men, or magi, arriving from the East. This was, after all, the direction traditionally associated with magicians. The popularity of such magicians suggests that many of them were called and held in high esteem in Greek society. The ruling male elites tended to regard all magic, other than that state-sanctioned form of theurgia, with suspicion. Magic could be a threat to the social order. Magic was often associated with those outside this elite: women, low-born men, and of course foreigners. Meanwhile, most of the people who wrote at this time and whose work was survived were members of the same elite. So we possibly get a distorted view of how ordinary Greeks regarded magic and witchcraft. That said, the words of the philosopher Plato, who dismissed such professional magicians as charlatan priests of foreign divinities, probably summed up the view of others of his social class and standing. The last form of magic, Goetia, often enormously in scope, practice, and motivation, but was apparently associated in many ordinary Greek minds with charlatans and deception. The Goets were peddlers of potions, love spells, healing herbs, and curses. Some of them might be genuine, some of them undoubtedly not. One of the most popular magical practices in Greece was the use of so-called curse tablets, used for putting a curse or misfortune on someone. The curse tablets were also known as catadismois, and the curse tablets were a very common and widespread form of magic in the ancient world from the 6th century BC onward. These tablets were usually made from lead, then folded over and nailed together, sometimes to an object. The tablets would have the name of the victim carved on them, as well as the spell or curse that was being invoked. The tablet's purpose was to bind the enemy or opponent by means of a curse. Sometimes the tablets would be hidden underground to get help from the spirits of the dead in fulfilling the curse. Sometimes they would be left lying around so that others and the victim would know who was being pursued. The object of the curses varied enormously. They might be against a former business partner, a love rival, or someone who had jilted the sender. On occasions, they might be put in a person's grave to pursue the soul after the victim was dead. To give the spells more power, the tablets often invoked the gods, sometimes Hecate, the queen of witches, Hermes, the messenger of the gods, or Hades, lord of the underworld. The three wise men or kings who visited the infant Jesus in the New Testament stories were magi, magicians, who were common and usually respected figures in the ancient world, though not always by the Greeks. Gargoyles of the devil is typical among the popular image of evil and demons, though in early Greek philosophy, demons or daimones were not regarded as evil spirits. The ancient Greek civilization lasted for hundreds of years, and it is therefore wrong to assume the ideas and concepts didn't evolve through Greek society as they have done in our modern Western culture. This is true, for example, with the concept of daimones or daimons. The earlier Greek times, in the age of Homer, the word daimon was used almost as another word for God. It certainly had few, if any, negative associations. In later years, the daimons became to be seen as morally neutral. They were spirits, intermediaries between human and the gods, and had powers, including that of prophecy. After Plato, it was considered that there could be both good and evil demon spirits with some of the qualities and failings of humans. By the time of later Greek thought, daimons had become primarily linked with evil, a view that helped shape the concept in Judaism and early Christianity. Gone was the idea that there was both good and bad in demons. The angels were on the side of the good and God. The demons were placed firmly in the other camp with the devil. Anyone who invoked, consulted, summoned, or was in any way magically involved with the demons was automatically on the wrong side. I hope you enjoyed this information, maybe learned something new about the history of witchcraft, and I am excited to take you further. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.